We are Southeastern 16 as we're gearing up for another big weekend of SEC football, and we're going to talk some Texas A&M Aggies football today. Number 14 team in the country. We'll talk with Andrew Monaco. He is the voice of the Texas A&M Aggies there for their radio network. We will get to that right after we tell you about BetOnline, the world's most trusted betting platform, your number one source for everything sports betting, every matchup, stat breakdowns, live odds, and spreads to bet on during the games. Largest catalog of odds on everything from football, MLB playoffs, NHL, NBA, even political props this political season. When the game's over, you can go to the online casino, blackjack, poker. They've got over 150 slots games, so head over to their website today to get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline, the game starts here. All right, Andrew, it's been, a fun season so far. You had that Notre Dame loss to open it up, but Texas A&M rocking and rolling right now. How's it going?
Yeah, it's going well. And coming off a bye week when you can't lose, you always beat bye week, right? And you can watch the carnage happen from the seat of your own couch, which is always fun. No, I think that Notre Dame game kind of set the tone. And what I mean by that is Mike Elko said after that game, look, you go 8 months when you're learning about a new program and installing what you want to install. Then you get to that first game against a top 10 team, and you realize that Mike's using the word strain and effort and grind. Okay, here you go for these 60 minutes. Was it enough? No. Then what do you do about it? And that's what I've liked. This team has improved week to week. You win on the road in Florida, and he said that's the best strain and effort. What it does, I believe, is sets the baseline, not just on Saturday at the first snap. You know, on Monday or Tuesday, if you're preparing to have that kind of strain and effort on Saturday. So that's where I think, look, it was a glamour game. It was awesome. What a way to kick off an era. But it didn't define them along the lines of, and Mike joked, I think we talked about this. Mike joked with his coaches, look, if we win that, we're dark horse national champions. And if we lose, we're the worst ever. Mike's got to go. Let's get a new staff. That's just the way our society is. But you could see them getting better, getting better, getting better, and what it takes to get better. And I always say it's everything that they've done in the past, the combination of how do you communicate on the field? Well, you do that by being together and doing that in practice. And when that drops, it's not a coach who has to tell you you're not communicating. It's now a player telling one another. That's what we need to do. Leaders emerge. All that work that you did in the weight room now emerges because you feel better on Sunday after a win. Those are the type of things that are getting instilled. Those are some of the characteristics, I think, for culture that Mike is still building. Are they a finished product? Absolutely not. Are they where they want to be after 6 weeks or 7 weeks counting the bye? Perhaps. Not sure. There's a lot of season to go, but I like what they've done to this point, and now it just gets harder from here on out.
It does. And, there is so much new coming into a new season with a new coach, a lot of new players. What would you say at this point? They've played 6 games. What would you say maybe what you've heard from the coaches, the identity of this team is right now?
This is a brand that will win every snap. What are you going to do to have to win every snap? That's why that word is important, the effort and the strain. And that's not just for offensive linemen or defensive linemen. There's a reason why Le'Veon Moss is running the way he is. There's a reason why they can protect the quarterback. There's a reason why Will Lee III is going to get his hand on a ball, and that's going to be a pass broken up as opposed to a completion. I think that's what it is. He uses this word an awful lot, which I think works at Texas A&M, and it works at a lot of colleges as well. But he uses the word earn, and I love that word because you earn at A&M, you earn the Aggie ring. You earn a diploma you do at college, but you earn your playing time, not because of how many stars you have around you or how many some company gave you. You earn it by doing that on the field. And with earn comes trust and all those things coming together. That brand is this team is going to play harder than everyone else. It may not have the 5 stars. They all left. You're left now with the players who want to be here, the transfers who wanted to come here to play for Texas A&M, the young recruits who are now finding themselves. That's the thing. Compete is a big word in our business, and this team will compete. And if they don't, Mike's going to find someone who will compete. The best 11 are always going to be on the field. not so much the most heralded 11. I think that's part of the identity and part of the brand.
Last time we saw A&M out, just a dominant performance over Missouri at home. Do you feel like that was kind of what the season building on? Like that's kind of what was expected as you've watched Texas A&M over and over this season. You get to that game, they get this huge win. Was that kind of like showing the world what Texas A&M football is, the way they played and won that game?
Yeah, I have to be honest here. Mike didn't inherit a cupboard that was bare. And that is not a shot at Mike. It's not a shot at Jimbo. There was talent here, and to see it come together. And I love everything he did in the offseason. I love to see those pieces coming together. We saw it for a lot of the 60 minutes, but I thought that was the most complete game that they played. And I love the way they stacked the offense with the defense. There is a toughness and there's a response that we had seen in those games leading up to that. I thought getting the touchdown after Arkansas took the lead with a field goal in Arlington was a great response for this team. And then having that strip sack to close the game against the Razorbacks. But they all seemed to come together against Missouri. Things went their way, which is nice to see. And then they took advantage of all of that. I thought they established the line of scrimmage. They dominated there, as you had seen leading up to that. They took away a running game. It's a very good Missouri team that, in fairness, you could say everything went A&M's way, nothing went Missouri's way, and you rarely get those in the SEC. Everything seems to come down to the to the nub, if you will, the end of the game. But that's why I said that building what they've done, that culmination is there. And now it's not done. That's the whole thing about this. Like, you don't crown a champion mid-season. You get an idea, but there's so much that goes on now in October and November. But I love where they are, and you get to build off that as opposed to having to bounce back from a loss or not playing well. Like, to me, this is where all the tumblers start connecting, right? Like, this is what the coaches were talking about. This is what I can do. I just think that kind of confidence can lead to an awful lot. And again, remembering how you got to that Saturday against Missouri. It didn't just happen because it was our day. I'm going to switch sports with you. Buzz Williams talks about this. Can you take away the luck part of the game and make that the skill part of the game? What can you do on a certain possession in a game to keep it from being a one-possession game? The Aggies did everything they needed to do to make that anything but a one-possession game.
When you look at the quarterback situation, Connor Weigman, I thought, had an excellent game against Missouri last time out. We've seen Marcell Reed as well some this season. Your thoughts on those two guys and kind of what we'll see from that position maybe the rest of the season?
I love them both, and you can really see why this staff was excited about Marcell Reed and bringing him in last year. And I'm just really, I don't know if proud's the word, if you can be proud, but where Marcell came from and where he is, and he's not even a finished product yet. You can see all that he's learned. Got the arm talent, obviously the leg talent, dual threat. I think it's what he's learned between the ears, and he is so willing to learn and to get better. But let's be honest, this is Connor's team with Marcell as the backup. There's no controversy here. This is Connor's team. Connor has had more snaps than all of those quarterbacks, but it takes nothing away. Marcell was ready. What's the old saying? You don't wait to play, you prepare to play. He was prepared and he ran with it. And then Connor came back. It worked very much in their favor. You could see the soreness in the arm, or the injury in the arm was gone. Then there was soreness and he worked through that. And it was a really good matchup for him against Missouri. Along these lines, it's a defense that will give you open windows. Connor is very good at throwing to open windows. If that were a case of that was a strength for Marcell Reed, maybe you could take that extra time for Connor and get the bye week and really be healthy. But Mike said something I thought was interesting. At some point, you have to find out if Connor's arm is good to go. That's what it was against Missouri, and it's been a good 2 weeks since then. The leadership of both. I always look at this, Chase. I look at how do players respond when there is a change or there's someone new. And I love the way they responded to Marcell, and I love the way they responded to Connor. That tells me about the leadership. But you can see what makes Connor special. The way that ball comes out for Connor to the receiver. And, you know, the windows in college football, from high school football to college, and then in the pros, it's something else. Those windows get tighter and tighter, and he found his receivers. And I love the way his receivers stepped up. Here's the other thing about those new quarterbacks. When you get to hand it off to Le'Veon Moss and Amari Daniels and E.J. Smith, and they get those yards for you, that also helps your entire game. All that boils down to those guys up front have been doing a pretty good job for the quarterbacks, the running backs, and giving time for those wideouts to make plays.
I want to flip over to the defensive side because I feel like going in, we knew this was going to be a strong defensive front. The pass rush, those guys really good with Nic Scourton coming in. Talk about what you've seen from the defense, especially that defensive front, and how they've helped this team this year.
Nic's a problem. That's easy. I can say that, right? Now you've got coaches in their rooms going, I don't know how we stop 11. What do we do? And I think the key there is it's not just 11 on that defensive line. You've got Shemar Turner and you've got Albert Regis there in the interior. You've got Cassius Howell on the outside. You've got Shemar Stewart, who's playing maybe his best football for Texas A&M on that end. So you want to chip, Nic? Well, what are you then going to leave on that defensive line? And that pressure at front four helps the back seven so much. And if that defensive line's doing their job, you love when they make the tackle. If they don't, then you've got Torian York at linebacker who will make that tackle. And I really like that linebacking core as well. I think Damian Sanford in his second season has been great. And the additions, Scooby Williams has been outstanding. And then Solomon DeShields. There's depth at those positions. Then it helps you on the back end. Can you disrupt timing for that quarterback? They're now starting to get the sacks, but can you hurry that quarterback and just make him feel a little uncomfortable? I thought that's what they did against Missouri. I thought that's what they did against Taylor Green of Arkansas. There are times that you roll out, but there were times where they just had to throw on the run. They could not sit back in that pocket. That's been a really good thing that you have seen develop over the course of this season, is that pressure and that disruption of timing and those negative plays, right? Can you get an offense, your opposing offense, off schedule? So much easier to get off the field on 3rd and long, as opposed to always facing a 3rd and 3 or a 3rd and 2. That's what they've done really well. But that defensive line, and again, easy for me to say because my partner, Dave Elmendorf, he played with the Rams in the NFL as well as being an Aggie. He played with that fearsome foursome of the Rams, and he knew that front four, you get that kind of pressure, it helps the back seven an awful lot.
You look at the rest of the schedule for Texas A&M, starting with Mississippi State this week, then LSU, Texas to end the season, some other good teams in the mix there as well when you look at the schedule. And A&M's in a position, they keep winning, they could find themselves in the college football playoff. That's just the way it is now with the 12-team playoff. What do you make of the games to come, starting with Mississippi State again this week and just the challenges that Texas A&M has in moving forward this year?
Making it about themselves and not about the opponent. And I know we like to say that as older, like, yeah, that makes sense. Now tell that to an 18 to 22-year-old who's being told how great they are. I'm not saying that's what's happening here at Texas A&M, but that's where when you want the culture and you want a championship mentality, you can either wish for it or you can make it happen. And that's what's being instilled every day on those practice fields. Like I said, if something doesn't go right, they're not waiting for the end of that practice to fix it. It's got to be fixed immediately. Mike talks about the 6 inches in front of your face, right? That's the only controllable is that 6 inches in front of your face. Jimbo Fisher used to say this, and I love it. Win your space, win it more times than your opponent. The scoreboard is going to say what you say. Can you boil things down to what is controllable? And I think that maybe that was the thing about the bye week. You sit back and you get your body right mentally, physically, all of this. And then as I joked about the carnage, you can't control anything that happens in the rest of the conference, in another conference, non-conference games. You can only control what you control. So if you like where you are, you keep repeating that habit, right? That allows you to win. But human nature says, well, if we do this and we do this and we do this, but it starts with Mississippi State. And you can say, well, Mike talked about this on Monday. He said, what makes the SEC so difficult is when you go into somebody else's place, it's not, see if I can get this right? It's not always the place that's difficult to play. It's the talent that's on the field that makes it difficult to play. Like Bryant-Denny's a great atmosphere. Sanford Stadium's a great atmosphere. Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, Florida Field is a great atmosphere. You know what makes it really tougher? Jalen Milroe, right? Oh, Dallas Turner and Will Anderson and Patrick Surtain and having to go up against DJ Lagway in Florida. That's what he says about Mississippi State is everybody forgets that we can talk about the old Mike Leach days and the air raid and this and that, but that is a school that has always had a stout defensive line. Like it never got enough credit. And Mike was saying there's a difference between being talented and talent rich. He goes, and I'm going to tell you, it's like being at Bowling Green. He's a defensive coordinator. He goes to Mississippi State. Now I got to face Dak Prescott. Right? That's what you're facing every single week in the SEC. Yes, the cowbells, right? I get all of that, but it's that talent. You got a Michael Van Buren Jr. who's, freshman quarterback. Oh, we're going to have great success. Yeah, but now it's his fifth game, right? And what Aggies need to realize, what if he's like Marcell Reed, keeps getting better every week as that young quarterback? They've got much, much better wide receiving talent, rotation of running backs. The defense they've given up point. They've been on the field an awful lot. The offense can change that. That's just this Saturday. You want to talk about LSU then, right? Dude, who could be near the top 5, but they've got to get through South Carolina. But you can't do anything about that game. You can only get prepared for that on Monday. That's the thing that gets me. We do that. We look at that and say, man, if you do this and you do this and you do this, can the player handle what's in front of them and take care of that business? Then I think that takes it away from the roller coaster of emotions. And again, don't settle for how you got to this spot, but remember how you got to being 5-1 right now.
And when it comes to Mississippi State, I know you've been preparing for the game. As you look at what Mississippi State brings, what Texas A&M has, what are some things you would say A&M needs to do well to go on the road and win this game?
Big plays are going to be a big part of this. I think Mississippi State does that, is they really go for that big play. And they've got the receivers to do that, and Coleman and Craver. And Van Buren's got a big arm. That's for sure. I think that, again, I said this to Mike, I think it was the Arkansas game, and I always feel like that game is the importance of the line of scrimmage. And I said, you know what? I'm not asking you. Every game in the SEC is a line of scrimmage game from now on. You got to take away that running game. And that's what has hurt the Aggies in the past going to Starkville, is that running game for Mississippi State has set up an awful lot of things, as well as Dak Prescott, Nick Fitzgerald, and quarterbacks like that who could run, get out of the pocket, and extend drives. The Aggies have done a really good job of limiting the opposing running game. Can they do that again and force Mississippi State to be one-dimensional? That's what happened 2 weeks ago when you stack the defensive stops with your offensive drives. Then Missouri comes one-dimensional. You try to run a little bit, but don't have that success. I think having to win up front and doing that and making Van Buren feel that pressure. Getting to him is great, but feel that pressure. Does it help on that back end? But Chase, I'm a broken record. It's the guys with their hands in the dirt will decide, and give the Aggies credit. The offensive line is much improved. And this defensive line, as I said before, is a problem. I said before the year what you were saying. I thought the defense was going to be ahead of the offense. And I said they're salty. They're starting to look salty out there on defense for sure.
Andrew Monaco, he is the voice of the Texas A&M Aggies as the Aggies get ready to take on Mississippi State Saturday. Andrew, how can folks listen to you? What time will you guys be on the air on Saturday?
Let's see, 3:15 kick, so we're going to go at 2 o'clock because we're just 3 gas bags who are going to be talking about this. If you can catch us on the Texas A&M Sports Network, fantastic. That's our affiliates. If not, we've got the 12th Man mobile app where all our audio is on there, or if you're blessed to have the Varsity Network app as well, that is all part of Learfield. You can stream that broadcast. Dave Elmendorf, me in the booth. Will Johnson is on our sidelines.
All right, good stuff. Andrew, thanks so much for coming on and talking some Texas A&M football today.
Kind to have me again. Thank you.
We are Southeastern 16, and we're brought to you by BetOnline.